tell a story about a CEO who was retiring from his company, and the new young CEO was taking over. So when he took over, the old CEO said, listen, I'm preparing 2 envelopes for you. If the company ever goes through a financial crisis, open the first envelope. And if things get better, fine. If they continue to get worse, open the second envelope. So the young man takes over, and sure enough, a couple of years in, they start going through a financial crisis. She immediately takes out the envelope, the first envelope from the drawer, and he opens it up, and it's a note from the former CEO. He says, here's my advice. Blame your predecessor. Say, you have to restructure the company because the previous CEO made all sorts of mistakes. Shift the blame. Anyways, he tries that, and he announces that it's the fault of the previous CEO, and he goes on with the company, but things continue to get worse. So he takes out the second envelope, and then he opens it up, and the note says, prepare 2 envelopes. Human nature is, the first thing we try to do is, rather than take responsibility, is who can we blame? And we find even in this week's parsha that Hashem comes to Moshe and says, I want you to take the Jewish people out of Egypt. And Moshe Rabbeinu tries every answer why he's not the one to do the job. But at one point, he says to Hashem, Hein b'nei Yisrael lo yishmo elai. The Jewish people will not listen to me. And they'll say that God never appeared to you. And at this point, Hashem becomes upset at Moshe Rabbeinu. And he says, let me give you 2 signs that I sent you, to prove to the Jewish people that I sent you. And the first sign is, he says, what are you holding in your hand? Throw it on the floor. And it turned into a snake. And then he says, grab the tail, and it will turn back to a stick. And the second sign, he says, is put your hand in your cloak. He turned it out. It was white like snow. And Rashi says, why these 2 signs? And Rashi says that Hashem was telling Moshe Rabbeinu, says Rashi, that you deserve to be struck with the stick that's in your hand. Why? Because you took on the nature of the snake in the Garden of Eden, which is that you spoke Lashon Hara on the Jewish people. I told you, go tell the Jewish people it's time for their redemption. And what did you say? Hey, B'nai Yisrael li Yishmael. They won't listen to me. They'll say God never sent you. Why are you speaking badly about my people? And Rashi says the famous quote, Hachoshet b'ksherim, if you suspect an innocent person, like Moshe suspected the Jews of not believing him, Loka b'gufa, you deserve to be beaten with bodily. And that's the message of the stick. And that's why the second sign was, put your hand in your cloak. It turned out white like saras. We know that saras was the punishment for Lashon Hara. And Rashi says the second sign was again to say to Moshe Rabbeinu, you spoke Lashon Hara on the Jewish people. The Medrash takes this so far that at the end of Moshe's life, he begged to go into the land of Israel. And Hashem says to him, Hein karvu yamecha lamos, the time for your death has arrived. And the Medrash says, Moshe said to Hashem, couldn't you break it to me a little softer? You have to use the word Hein. Hein is like, behold, indeed. It's like matter of fact, certainty. Why are you speaking so harshly, Moshe says. And Hashem says, because that's the way you spoke about my people. When I came to you and told them to take the Jews out in the beginning of your career, 40 years ago, you said, Hein b'nei Yisrael Yishmael. You were so sure they're not going to listen. How are you so sure? Why didn't you give them the benefit of the doubt? And the very first lesson we're learning about Moshe Rabbeinu is that the first job of a leader is not only to have faith in Hashem, but to have faith in the people that you're leading. If you don't have faith in the people you're leading, if you don't see good in them, then you can't be an effective leader. Never see bad, never speak bad, never prejudge someone. I was talking to Rabbi Blacha, the esteemed scholar in residence yesterday. We were talking about someone we both know. He was a very prominent surgeon today. And he says, I remember when he was a kid, his Rebbe told his mother, he'll never amount to anything. He'll never accomplish anything. And now he's a very prominent, accomplished surgeon. Parents or teachers who predict in advance that kids won't amount to anything, they're harming those children. And Hashem says to be a leader, whether it's a parent, a teacher, any kind of a leader, you have to see good in people. Never speak Lashon Hara about the people you're trying to lead. There's a story I heard recently about a group of people in a shul. They wanted to daven mincha. And in a shul, okay, who's going to go to the Amid, All of a sudden, this 14-year-old kid comes running in, grabs a talus, runs up to daven. Like, okay, good, he's going to daven. He starts the Ashrei, and it comes to Tehillas Hashem. He can't pronounce the words. He's gargling the words, swallowing them. No one could hear him. Then it starts the repetition of the midah. He can't read basic Hebrew. The people in the shul, if you can't daven, why are you going up to the Amid? And some of the older people, the new generation, Anyways, after Shmoneh Esrei, a man went over to him and started to rebuke the kid. And he said, Why did you grab the talis and go to the Amid if you don't know how to daven? They finished the Leinu and Mourner's Kaddish, and the kids start saying Yiskadal, Yiskadash. They went over to Matt, they said, who are you saying Kaddish for? He said, I'm saying Kaddish for my father. Never judge a person, never rush to jump to conclusions. Sometimes you have to wait till Aleinu to find out the end of the story. And that's the first lesson that Hashem teaches Moshe Rabbeinu. As a leader, as any person, don't try to blame others. Take responsibility. That's the best way. As they say, fix the problem, don't affix the blame.